Hey guys, welcome back to the James Bond Show. It's Krazy Kajeevie here. Sorry for my layoff, guys. I've been off for about 3 weeks, just having some me time, some reading Ian Fleming, James Bond time. I'm going through all the novels. So about a week and a half ago, I finished Casino Royale, and now I'm up to Live and Let Die. So I'm just going through them all in order and recapping on many that I read many years ago. Okay, so today, guys, I'm reviewing For Your Eyes Only, the 12th James Bond film in the series. Starring Roger Moore, and this is a directorial debut of John Glenn, which I'll talk about more soon. The budget of the film was $29 million USD, and the film made a really healthy $195 million USD, so a good return. Obviously, Moonraker took Bond into space, and it took all the crazy with it. It was a crazy, big, insane Bond film. So yes, the producers, that old line is true, they had to literally bring James Bond back to Earth. Now, John Glenn really wanted to stamp his authority on the film, and one of the things John Glenn wanted to do, as well as bring back Ian Fleming, because you've got to remember, John Glenn was an editor under Peter Hunt on Her Majesty's Secret Service, as well as shooting second unit on that film as well. So he wanted to ground Roger Moore as more of a believable Ian Fleming's James Bond. And I think this is one of the Roger Moore films that when it says, Roger Moore is Ian Fleming's James Bond, I think you can look at that and not wince and actually say, yes, he was far more Fleming here. Older, an older style Bond, but he was definitely on point. And I think Roger Moore wins out because of it. So James Bond is on a mission to find the ATAC, which is like a decoding device. This is very similar in Wayne, plot and theme to From Russia with Love, but it's far more expansive that it's a real globetrotter. We're going underwater, we're going up in the sky, we're going, to the snow, we're going to the Greek islands, we're going to Italy, up in Cortina. It's a stunning, gorgeous film, and of course, as well as the UK. So the film starts off with the obligatory PTS, pre-title sequence. Now, this is a really beautiful touch that John Glenn brought in here. We see James Bond at the grave of Tracy, his wife, killed on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Now, ironically, this was to be George Lazenby's last James Bond film if he had signed that 7-picture deal. So with John Glenn coming in, if he wanted to do that ode to Tracy, I think this would have been such a fitting farewell to George Lazenby. I mean, we can only imagine how that would have looked. Obviously, from 69 on Her Majesty's, he loses his wife. 7 films later, he sets a record for the most Bond films, and he finishes with an absolute classic. And, a great ode to Tracy. Now, the pre-title sequence, my issue with this is it's another fine example of being able to be so great, but then the producers, and in this case, the filmmaker, like John Glenn, doesn't restrain themselves. Now, I love the whole concept. Blofeld, we all know it's Blofeld. He takes over the helicopter that Bond is in, electrocutes his own pilot because he doesn't care. Bond chucks him out. Bond gets into the controls, can't control the helicopter, realizes he can control the helicopter when he pulls out one of the controlling leads. Bond takes control of the helicopter, scoops up Blofeld. Now, obviously, guys, it's well talked about. One of the worst lines in James Bond film history comes out here, and it's, "I'll buy you a delicatessen in stainless steel." Okay, what were they thinking? Now, that idea came from Albert Cubby Broccoli, and it's an Italian mafia type thing, terminology. It did not work. This is a scene that they just needed to keep serious, at least within the dialogue, because the action plays fun and awesome and that, but they needed to keep the dialogue serious, and I would have loved it if Roger Moore, instead of doing the patting on the head thing as Bond, to Blofeld, he should have just looked kind of deadpan at him and said, "This is for Tracy." Like, "This is for Tracy." Boom, drops him down. Wow. And I think you've got the fun aspects there and you've got the serious aspects. And I think audiences would go, yes, we're back to Ian Fleming with a great ode to Her Majesty's Secret Service. So James Bond has to go and locate the ATAC. Now, Melina Havelock, who's played here by the beautiful and 23-year-old Carol Bouquet, her parents are killed by hitman Hector Gonzalez. So she's off to seek revenge, to find the people responsible for hiring Hector Gonzalez for killing her father. Now, her father, unbeknownst to Melina, is used to track down the ATAC. So her parents are killed, she's off on revenge, and Bond's off to find the ATAC. Of course, the Russians are looking for the ATAC as well. They want to get that. So it is a throwback to From Russia with Love, and it's great espionage with great action. So the film is filled with action. So let's have a look at one of the main action pieces, which involves the brilliant Citroen 2CV after Roger Moore's White Lotus Esprit is blown up in a very funny part of the film. And this is where James Bond moments can be really funny, but not gags. There can be humour, but not gags. It's got a little sticker on it about being burglar protected, and the car blows up when one of the baddies tries to get into it. We see here also Emil Leopold Locke. He's the villain, well, he's one of the villains of the film, and he never talks in this film. And even though he doesn't have like a huge presence like a Jaws or an Oddjob, he's got such a brilliant, realistic, sinister presence just through those glasses and his, piercing blue-grey eyes. Absolutely fantastic. I love his presence in this film, and every time he's in it, you really feel menace. He's also got the use of a big Russian-built henchman as well, who likes to throw bikes at James Bond. And we've got General Gogol, and he's running around chasing this ATAC as well. So the Citroen 2CV car scene, it doesn't take away from the film, even though it's got a few little goofy moments. It's so beautifully choreographed by Remy Julien and his French driving team. Absolutely fantastic, one of the highlights. Now, what I love so much about For Your Eyes Only is it's going in the air, it's going underground, and we come to one of my all-time favourite vehicles in the James Bond films, the very underrated Neptune submarine. It's absolutely brilliant, and the model miniature work here with the Neptune, there's a real Neptune sub, and there's model miniatures here, and there's model miniature figurines, all done by Derek Meddings and his brilliant special effects department. So great, absolutely fantastic. So the film climaxes in Greece, and there's a lot that happens before that, and it really is so much action, but the climax in Greece is absolutely thrilling, as basically James Bond has to get up a big rock cliff face, and he's rock climbing up it. He gets kicked off. Rick Sylvester from the Spy Who Loved Me comes back, and he does the incredible stunt where Bond basically falls just probably 100 metres off this rock cliff face, and then he gets up it using his shoelaces with his boots. So there's no Q gadgets here. It's fantastic. Speaking of Q, his early scene was fantastic, where Bond is identifying Locke. It's a nose, Q, not a banana. And that's great. And again, it works. But Desmond Llewellyn as Q, it's like they shoehorn him in at the end. So one of my only real little gripes with the film is he turns up in Greece, in St. Cyril's, and Bond goes into a confessional, speaks to him, and there's no place for Q here. He doesn't give him any gadgets. It's only for like really a gag about James Bond's sins and, that's saying as much and blah, blah, blah. It's not needed here. So I think that should have been left out of the film, and it would have saved time as well. So you'd send an agent out for that. You wouldn't send Q. The film is more realistic, and that's helped by Julian Glover as Aris Christados. Now, one of my gripes I have here is not with him and not with the film. It's with the fans. The fans whinge, some of them whinge and bitch and complain about, Moonraker's too, and it's the same fans all the time, seriously. Moonraker's too crazy and Drex is too nuts and he wants to go into space. Then you get a realistic Christados, played by Julian Glover, and he's realistic and he's grounded, and then the same fans turn around and say, he wasn't memorable. What do you want? You want him to pull his pants out over his head and set them on fire and walk around in circles doing chicken sounds? I mean, seriously, you've got to have reality. You don't have a big, crazy villain in such a plot like this. It would be like going and putting a Hugo Drax or a Goldfinger smack in the middle of From Russia with Love. It would not work. So Julian Glover here works perfectly. He's fantastic. He's actually a few years younger than Roger Moore. He's currently 85, I think, at the moment. And he's still going. He's still with us. But so I think they aged him up a little bit, because if you have a look at him also in The Empire Strikes Back a year earlier, he looks like 20 years, 30 years younger, and without the beard and stuff like that as well. Now, Topol is in the film as Columbo, and he is absolutely my favourite James Bond ally. Yes, sorry guys, he does for me beat Karen Bain from Russia Love. I just love Topol. Now, the film gets a lot of criticism also for Lynn Holly Johnson, and people say, oh, you know, what use is she? Well, she's a bit of eye candy for the younger people, and she helps shows Bond's maturity. So Bond really shows his maturity by, you know, offering to buy her a lollipop instead of shag her. I know which one I would have done. And she's a bit of fun there. So I really love her character in it. She brightens the film up. Now, the stunts are incredible. The ski scenes are incredible. And a stuntman was actually killed during the bobsled sequence of this film. And it is mind-blowing. Neptune underwater is mind-blowing. The rock climbing is mind-blowing. And then a scene is taken from Live and Let Die, where basically Bond and Melina are tied up and dragged through the waters, and those scenes were actually shot in the Bahamas as well. A little bit of inside knowledge there for you. Okay, now I'm going to say it to you guys, if you didn't know. This is my favourite James Bond film. This is my favourite James Bond film of all time. For people to say it's a bit standard and it's a bit rubbish, sit down, turn the lights off, crank the volume up, and keep an eye on more. Keep an eye on his eyes and how he reacts here. His performance is brilliant, especially when he kicks the car off the cliff, which he didn't want to do, and John Glenn forced him to do it, and wow, John Glenn was right. It really works. The film is... The reason For Your Eyes Only is my favourite James Bond film is because I look at Bond films like, do you want to be Bond in that film? And I want to be Bond in that film. I want to go on the sub. I want to go on the helicopter and hang off it. I want to go that rock climbing. And I want a smoochy with Melina Havelock, played by the gorgeous Carol Bouquet. So I love this film. This is 5 out of 5 Krazy Kajeevie stars for me. 5. And I'd love to hear, guys, your thoughts and your opinions on For Your Eyes Only. So please leave your comments below. And guys, more importantly too, and it's free, hit subscribe. If you subscribe and hit the little bell, you'll get notifications and I'll be able to see you here again. Join us tomorrow, guys. I'm going to do a review on Octopussy. I've also got a few really cool Bond 25 update videos coming as well. And I've got a controversial one on a so-called James Bond fan out there that really likes to, well, call us racist because we don't want black James Bond and calls us all sooks and stuff. So I'm going to be doing a video about that, so keep an eye on it. Please like it, guys. Little thumbs up, and please subscribe to the channel. And I will see all you guys tomorrow. Until next time, keep on bonding.